My name is Adrian Wolf. For 23 years, everyone, teachers, my ex-girlfriend, even my sister, told me my obsession with sign languages was pointless, a party trick. They were wrong, but I didn't know that until I watched 3 armed men break into my family's cabin and realized I was the only person who could warn my family without making a sound. The obsession started when I was 8, leading me to learn not just ASL, but British, Australian, international, and even Japanese sign language. By 15, I was fluent in 6 languages, mastering the subtle dialects. My sister, Melanie, once cruelly told me I was hiding behind my hands. By 31, I worked as a freelance designer, but my free time was spent practicing, solving what felt like an infinite puzzle. Last November, my family, my parents, my brother Isaac and his fiancée Natasha, and Melanie with her husband Douglas and their 2 children, gathered at their cabin in the Cascade Mountains for Thanksgiving. The cabin was remote, 40 minutes from the nearest town, with 0 cell phone signal. I arrived early to help prepare. The road was already icing over, and snow was threatening. I noticed Melanie seemed stressed, and she and Douglas exchanged glances I couldn't read. Something was definitely off. I signed to Isaac in ASL, asking if he'd noticed anything strange. He signed back that Melanie had been distant for months due to some work trouble Douglas was having, but details were scarce. My parents were oblivious to our silent conversation, as they'd never bothered to learn a sign. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was the only one still awake when I heard a subtle, wrong sound, a scraping noise from the back of the cabin. I crept to the window, pulling the curtain aside. At first, I saw only shadows, but then the darkness resolved into 3 figures in dark clothing approaching the cabin from the tree line. They weren't clumsy or lost. They moved with precision, keeping low, their movements coordinated like people who had done this many times before. My heart hammered so violently it felt like it would tear through my ribs. This wasn't a random intrusion. Random burglars don't hike 40 minutes through a frozen forest in the middle of the night just to rob a remote cabin. These men knew we were here, and they had clearly come for a specific, sinister reason. I knew, with terrifying certainty, that I had perhaps 60 seconds before they reached the back door. Shouting was impossible. The sound would instantly alert them and turn us into trap targets. All the years of family ridicule about my pointless party trick vanished. My obsession, my mastery of American Sign Language, was suddenly the only tool I had to prevent a massacre. I backed away from the window, dropping low to keep my silhouette invisible to anyone approaching the glass. My mind raced, skipping the panic, jumping straight to action. The first person I had to reach was my younger brother, Isaac, who was sleeping down the hall. He was the only other soul in that entire, isolated cabin who understood ASL. I had to devise a silent, actionable plan, not just a warning, using only my hands. I was completely reliant on the decades of shared practice and silent conversations we'd had right under our parents' noses, trusting that our fluency would be enough to save us all. I moved silently down the hall toward Isaac and Natasha's room. Every creak of the old wooden floor amplified my fear. I needed to sign a sequence of instructions. Danger, quiet, wake everyone, move to the basement, and pray the muscle memory was as sharp for him as it was for me. A single mistake, a single sign misunderstood, and we were all dead.